Now, the first primary mistake when it comes to the sujood is very, very important. It's the most common mistake. It's the one mistake that most people who have problems with the sujood, they're gonna have problems in this area. And that is, the Prophet ﷺ ordered us to have 7 parts of our body touch the ground and be firm into the ground when we go into the sujood. Now, this problem here with this mistake is, for some musallin, for some of the people who pray, they don't have all 7 parts actually touching the ground. They include the nose, then the hands, then the knees, and then 6, 7 is the 2 feet. The first issue is, how do you perform a perfect sujood? Now, when a person performs a perfect sujood, from the mistakes, when people go into sujood, their hands are placed to the ground, but their fingers are spread apart. The Prophet ﷺ's sunnah of going into sujood is, our fingers are together. And the reason, the hikmah behind this, of course, is all the fingers face and point towards the qibla. Secondly is the palm area. The palm area is extremely important also for it to be firmly placed into the ground. Try to keep your entire palm into the ground as well. The third mistake when it comes to the sujood and placing the hands is the arms touching the ground. The Prophet ﷺ made a tashbih and said that this here, when you do that, it's like the sitting of the dog. When the dog wants to relax, what does it do? It takes its 2 front paws and lays it down into the ground. The Prophet ﷺ says, don't imitate the animals like this when it comes into the sujood. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah tells us that a person who imitates any animal in their sujood, فَقَدْ أَبْطَلَ الصَّلَاةِ, then verily their salah is broken. So you have to be very careful of how the sujood looks. When it comes to the feet and the knees, I don't know until this day why some Muslims, they do this. That some Muslims, when they go into the sujood, they'll raise their feet off the ground. I don't know what that's for. They'll just raise their feet off the ground. I've even seen like people who play with their feet at the same time. You know, I've even seen some people scratching their feet and do all of that while you're in sujood. Being in sujood, you're the closest to Allah Azza wa Jal. Imagine if you are the closest to your Rabb, and this is the nature you meet Him in. It's really, really a very, very careless manner to be in front of Allah Azza wa Jal in this particular state. So that's important, is that we try to keep our feet firmly into the ground. When it comes to the toes should also be bent in such a way that you try to do this to the best of your ability, that your toes are facing towards the qibla as best as possible. Next mistake is, when the feet are down, you want to try to keep the feet touching each other as best as you can. So the heels, so imagine this is the feet, you want the heels to be able to touch each other as best as you can. And this is something that also the Prophet ﷺ, it was narrated by some of the companions that they used to witness this from him. That every time he would go into the sujood, he would be together with his feet. Now, you know, some people have that dark spot on their forehead. The Prophet ﷺ talked about this and mentioned that this spot here, it was done and it was brought to that person and they're given this sujood mark, then insha'Allah ta'ala, Allah will cause that spot to be brighter than the sun on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So some of the ulama said to achieve this, one of the ways is to perfect the face when it touches the ground for sujood. Now you don't want to force your head into the ground, but just apply some pressure that is comfortable at the same time.